guys, welcome to my channel again, Brew, and Happy New Year, all the best, and I hope you guys have had a good Christmas and managed to kick a few of your kegs over the season and ready to start brewing some more beer early on in January. Myself personally, I have one in the fermenter, a keg outside of the keezer, and 4 kegs in the keezer, although 2 of them are probably about a third full. Today I want to just do an update, give you guys an update on what I've been up to, and a little bit of a tasting. I think I'll start with the tasting if that's okay, because this is the Vienna lager. I got the recipe from Tubedinoz, Dean Coleman from New Zealand. Buddy, Happy New Year to you. And I've had a few of these. I just wanted to wait until it was perfect before I did my review. This lager is a Vienna lager. It's as you can see, you have a little look at that. That is quite dark for a lager. It's crystal clear. It's quite hard to see. You see my finger behind there. That is crystal clear. Carbonation's lovely. When you smell it, it's quite typical of a lager, except you do get a little bit more malt than you would from a lager. Well, let's have a little taste. So when you look at that colour, you start to think almost like about a bitter or a British brown ale or something like that. Your taste buds expect a bit more of the richness and the maltiness. This has got some lovely maltiness. It's not overly rich, but compared to a lager, it's got a lot more flavour to it, and it's a flavour that lingers in your mouth, where most of the commercial lagers, you'll have a sip, and after a few seconds, there's no flavour left. That kind of prompts the next sip. But for me, I'd say if I was going to choose, this is bang on, exactly what I would like out of a lager. Carbonation, it's very cold out in my garage at the moment, but the head hangs around a little bit. If I give it a little stir around, you'll see it might be slightly overcarbonated, but I do like my lagers to have more carbonation than normal. The body, there's a bit more body than you would expect from a standard lager. I would assume this is my first ever Vienna lager. I've done a couple of lagers and quite a few pilsners, but this one, it's got a bit more body. It's got more to it, I'd say, more character, more everything. The one thing I didn't do, that Dino did do, is he used SARS and I used Hallertau, but it's a noble harpoon. And even though there's not a hell of a lot on the flavour, on the aroma side of it, the flavour is just, it's absolutely lovely. Really something that I'm going to have this in the summer for sure. It's going to be on keg all summer, guaranteed. What I might try and do, I have got a couple of notes that I'm looking at here, but the ABV came in at 6%, which was slightly high for the recipe. So I'll probably try and bring that down to about 5.5. Make it slightly more sessionable, and if someone's having a 5 point something beer, it sounds better than having a 6 or 6 point something beer. Just one of those things. So yeah, I am very happy with that. Thank you, Dino. Appreciate that, buddy. And I know this time of year, this would be going down in New Zealand, an absolute bloody storm. Here in the UK, it's actually not bad. It's a lager you can drink in the winter. Yeah, so very chuffed with that. What else have I been up to? So last week, early last week, I brewed the Undead Pale Ale from James Morton's book. So his book is Brew, Undead Pale Ale. I don't think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's not it, because unless one of the items in there, he does have He has a Munich and he has a crystal, but he doesn't say what sort of lovey bond it sits at. So it's possible I used the wrong one, but that I got up to 1064. That's the color. It's down to around 1010 now. Still sitting around 1010, which is fantastic. I dry hopped it tonight. I've just finished the diacetyl rest, so I've taken it back down to 18 degrees. I've put the dry hops in 80 grams, which is 30 more than the recipe calls for, but I don't like having little bits of hops left over. So if there's a 50 gram hop drop in the recipe, and I've got 30 left, I'll just chuck them all in. I mean, it's going to be Citra on Citra on Citra. So his Undead Pale Ale apparently is James Morton's take on the Zombie Dust, so it's effectively a clone of that. I'm really looking forward to that one. Also going to be nice to have in the early spring, late winter. I'm going to, as soon as a keg comes available, so what I'll do with that, I'll have it in dry hop for 3 days, and then I will rack to secondary, put that in secondary, cold crash it until I get another keg available, which shouldn't be too long. My darling wife has finally got sick of the Prosecco, which is on a keg. So bless her soul, she's probably done about 10 litres of the stuff. So I have about 4 litres left, which I'm just going to bottle off, and I've got a few guys at work and around that like it and want to taste it and whatever. So I'm going to bottle that off into half-litre bottles and just give it away and free up a keg. So that will be the keg that will then sit in my garage under sort of 40 psi for a couple of days, and then just into normal pressure and just sit in the garage until the space comes up in the Keezer. About the brew day itself, I have videoed it. I've got like an hour and a half of video which I need to try and cut down to 20 minutes. It's going to be a bit of a pain. But I've just got a couple of notes here. So it was a 1064 OG, it's now a 1010. It gives me an ABV of 7.1. Still, I don't know why I always end up brewing beers that are above 6%, but it just seems like I try and get value out of my brew day. Yeah, I think my next brew I'm going to try and aim for like a 4.5 or 5% pale ale, or maybe even do another lager. This lager is really pushing me towards that kind of style. But anyway, I had my new HLT, which I got for Christmas, and that my brew day ended up being 4.5 hours, and it was just so much easier with that. The only thing I would say, it was the Buffalo boiler, the 40 litre. The only thing I would say there is that my boil kettle has 4.8 kilowatts of heating power, so it's got 2 elements in there. What I would do differently next time is I would heat my initial volume of water in my boil kettle, get the mash on, and then start using the HLT, because I probably would save another 15 minutes on the boil day, maybe a little bit more. But yes, everything else was great. I did a fly sparge. I didn't get anything wrong. The only thing that I didn't do was check the pH on the mash, but I was 3 points over the estimated OG, so you can't complain about that. Yeah, what else have I got on here? So it took me 4.5 hours from start to finish. I mean, the groundwater is really cold, so my immersion chiller works a treat at that temperature, and that included a 20-minute hop stand at 77 degrees Celsius. So I got it down there, did a steep at that temperature, and everything so far is looking it's looking good towards it. I actually haven't tasted this one, but this will give you a good indication of the flavor to get. But there's going to be a hell of a lot of hop aroma that comes out of. I can already smell the Citra. It's such a lovely hop. I mean, it's one of my favorite. I love Mosaic as well, and I'm really keen to try and do some kind of a collaboration where it includes the Nelson Sauvin hop as well, which is, I think that might be in New Zealand or Australia. I think it's New Zealand hop. But that with this and Mosaic, I think you're just going to blow the sort of citrus flavors out of the water. It's just going to be amazing. But I can smell citra on that. Quite a lot of body to it. Obviously it's flat and it's whatever. And that is, what, a week and a half old. I dropped this into my yeast cake from my last brew. So I scooped out half the yeast cake and just threw that away. I was going to save it, bro. That's for my brother. He knows it, spend half, save half. But I just ended up throwing it away. And half the yeast cake is bang on, I'd say. I mean, I had a Krausen. The Krausen was about probably 3 inches high. It brewed, it fermented out in about 4 days. I know there's been a little bit of activity going on when I went for diacetyl rest temperatures, but oh my god, that I think. And this is going to be a personal opinion. It's a green beer that I'm tasting with no carbonation at 21 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to say this now, I'm going to put my arse on the line and say that is going to be the best beer I've ever brewed. I am really, really chuffed with that. So if that works out to be that, this is going to be the pale ale that sits on my tap all year round. What I might try and do, I think we talked about, this ended up at 7.1%. Got to be a little bit careful when you're drinking 7.1% beers, because they do still slip down easy, and especially when you've got so much hops. I mean, that's got a lovely aroma now. Imagine that after the 80 gram hop drop I've just done. Give that 3 days of dry hopping. Then you're going to be talking about some serious hoppage, hiding the flavor of the alcohol. Slip a few of these down and you're going to be anyone's, really. So I'm really chuffed. I'm really happy. That was my first taste of that as well. Really happy with that. I think having the third vessel, the HLT, it just made my brew day so much easier. So for me personally, I think this is now, I'm at a level where I'm going to be able to, I mean, on top of what I did, I had to clean out kegs. I had to bottle 10 bottles of beer to clean out a keg. I had to keg other beer out of the fermenter to free up the yeast cake. You imagine how hassle-free your brew day would be with your 3-vessel system and none of that other shit to do. I think I'm bang on. I'm really looking forward to the next brew day. What I did with this brew is I chucked the hops in loose. So the dry hops went in loose, which means I can't use the yeast cake. You know, I mean, it's £2.50 worth of Safal SO5 or whatever. But every now and again I like the fact that you can throw your wort on top of a yeast cake, which is live, happy, active yeast, and within 3 or 4 hours the yeast is at work. The yeast is chowing the sugar, and there's nothing left. I mean, it's not going to be too dry. This is 10-10 on the final gravity. It's not too dry, and yet it was fermented out in probably 3 days, 3 or 4 days. Anyway, so I'd just like to say cheers to all the guys out there on BrewTube, on the Facebook group and YouTube BrewTubers. Happy New Year! I hope you guys have a fantastic year brewing. I'm hoping to do a video this year on planning brews for the right time in the calendar, which is something I've sometimes slipped up on, where I do a brew for the summer, at the end of the summer, and end up having it in the autumn or when it's a bit colder. So yeah, I think I'll do a video on that next, maybe on my next Homebrew Wednesday update. But lots of love to you guys, take it easy and keep on brewing.